Hello, I'm Joel Baird, the General Manager of Missoula Community Access Television, inviting you to another edition of What's Up Missoula. We're on the campaign trail, and we're trying to get a little 10-minute look at each of the council candidates. We've got most, but not all. We have one tonight, and that is Paul Bohan. He is running for Ward 3. Thanks so much for coming.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to tell people a little bit about the mail-in ballot. It is a mail-in ballot. You should have your ballot on or before October the 24th. If you don't receive your ballot and you're concerned about it, call the elections office 258-4751 to make sure you can get a ballot. This election will be concluded at 8 p.m. on November the 8th. So once you have that ballot, you can mail it in with a first-class stamp. You can take it to the elections office, second floor of the Missoula County Courthouse. You can take it to election headquarters, which will be set up at the fairgrounds after October the 11th. You can also take it to 7 schools, which includes Hellgate Elementary and Lowell Elementary School. Well, Paul, thanks so much for coming. I'm asking everyone the same questions just so they feel like, well, everyone's getting treated the same. Here's your first question. What do you think is the most important issue facing the city in the next 2 years?
Well, it's not just in the next 2 years. I look at what's happening in the city council, and I've been in numerous job situations, and whether it's camps or schools or coaching or working or roofing or whatever, and I see a constant pattern of people gaming the system to meet their ends, and you know, I've said before is that my 3 methods of deciding what's good is I look at the purpose of something, I look at the process of obtaining the purpose, and then I look at the motives. And if all those 3 don't line up, then I look at is it a profit motive or is it a power motive? And what I see in the city of Missoula on the city council is it's been, it seems to be one power group right now, and it seems that people outside of that power group have been ignored for the last couple of years, and I see that trend continuing. I've had some issues with the city, whether it's sidewalks or other things, and when you talk to people as individuals and staff members, they're very, very helpful once you get to the right person. Sometimes you have to make a few steps to get to the right person. But I don't get the deep root questions answered very easily, and that's been a problem. And when I say gaming the system, you know, people label me as being anti-corporation, and that's not the case. But the latest example of gaming the system is the initiative on the personhood for a corporation. And I had a discussion with a council member yesterday, and he was saying a corporation is property, and that's correct, but a corporation is made up of people. And the problem with corporations is that the reason people incorporate is to protect them from liability. And sometimes that liability protection has gotten extended too far, so people can make decisions that are illegal, dangerous, or otherwise, and they use the corporate protection. And that's where the problem is. As far as campaign spending goes, corporations, you know, whether it's a local brewery or a very large corporation, they're all made up of people, and if you decide that an organization, corporation, which is defined by the government, made up of people, can't do the same things that, say, a union can do, say, a nonprofit organization can do. You're making a distinction between groups that will eventually lead to other groups getting excluded. And the other thing about that issue is the legal opinion of the city attorney made the conclusion that the statute indicates that the powers of initiative and referendum reserved for the electors of each local government pertain to resolutions and ordinances within the legislative jurisdiction and power of the governing body. And this is the city's attorney, and this was in regard to the Iraq resolution. And these resolutions are all good intention resolutions. And the decision as far as the court decision, I think, was an erroneous decision. I think there should be limits, but we have a process, and we have a law. And despite the fact that you really want to do this and you really want to make a statement, the state constitution says you cannot. And unless you change that, then I feel that the process that they're trying to use to make the statement cannot be used. And that's just one example of that. The other example would be the stadium issue. The process of an urban renewal development grant was to take a blighted area and rejuvenate it using urban renewal funds or tax increment funds. And the stadium, in 2005, they added some space around the stadium, parking lots or otherwise. And then in 2007, the city council actually drew a map of the district. Yeah, I may not have had it, but basically they took an area, they tried to call the area east of the stadium blighted, and the neighbors kind of said, well, we're not going to do that. And so they drew a circle around the stadium, called it blighted, to put it in the urban renewal district so they could access the funds. In the same month that they did that, within January, February, March, they also mortgaged the stadium and the land to these 7 lenders, and Missoula Federal Credit Union, and I think there was one other bank, and then First Security Bank also had some money in there, but they weren't part of the lease agreement. And these are issues that I think should have come up in the discussion for the stadium purchase, and they never were. And they may be legal. I think that if you can draw a circle around an already constructed stadium, call it blighted, and then use those monies to pay off lenders who were making 5.5% at the time. They may lose money now, but in the beginning it was 5.5%. But you remove every restriction from any urban renewal district. You can draw a circle around any building. Well, that building's blighted, or that parking lot next to that building's blighted, so let's include that building. So there's no restrictions. That's gaming the system to me. And it could be legal, might not, might be okay. But I think as far as the purpose of the law and the TIF funds and the urban renewal districts have some restrictions, and one of them is that you're not supposed to use them to fund already incurred projects or already incurred debt. And the stadium had already been through one urban renewal district initially, and then they had to put it in another one to recoup the cost for that. And that's just, to me, that's wrong.
I want to make sure you get a chance to answer all the questions.
Like I said, I talk a lot.
Well, it's all right. Here's another question. How do you differ from the other candidate in this race, or in your case, candidates?
Well, Alex Taft is a very good person. He's worked out east. I don't know a lot about Alex. He'd be fine as a council person as far as I can tell. But my difference is that I have a very, very wide background of jobs. I've taught in the schools. I've coached in the schools. Like I've worked at YMCA camps in every position you can possibly imagine, including director. I've lived in Missoula for over 20 years. I've been here since 1977. I've seen it change from a fairly small community to what it is now, which is a growing community that's showing some growing pains, and also seems to be getting more and more influence from people moving out who want to make it look like the East Coast, the West Coast, and they want to make it operate that way. And I think a lot of people who have been here their whole lives, which doesn't include me, but I think a lot of them are getting pushed aside to make Missoula look like every place else, and I don't want to see that happen.
If elected, what would your primary goal be for your first year in office?
My first year is to listen and learn, and I emphasize that listening. Seeing how things are done, seeing what's been done in the past, and seeing how you can make it better. My best asset is always being able to look at a format, how things are done, and finding ways to make it better and actually doing the work to make it better. The city council has 12 people and the mayor. I don't intend to be the leader of the city council. That's not my objective. My objective is to be the worker, to make sure that when things are implemented, they're implemented fairly, that everybody knows all sides of the issues, why they were implemented, and what the consequences are, and what the consequences of not doing something else might be. I think the information getting out is very important.
What should people know about you, your experience, your background, your vision for the city?
My vision for the city is to take care of the city first, to see that money that is being spent is spent wisely, that basic services, sewer, streets, and maintenance, plowing, and all those services are taken care of first, and then after that, then you can look at some of the other issues. And I think sometimes we spend too much time talking about saving the world when there's things and people right next door to us that need to be taken care of first, and that's a hands-on thing, and it's not a talking thing.
Well, Paul, I want to thank you so much for spending the time with us. I'm sorry it's so short to get everybody in. Paul Bohan is a candidate for Ward 3. He doesn't have a website immediately, but I Googled him. It's Paulbohan. And there's a number of things on the web. There's some questionnaires that you filled out and such like that. So people can learn more about Paul's candidacy by Googling Paul Bohan, B-O-H-A-N, Missoula Ward 3 candidate. Well, thanks so much for watching this edition of What's Up Missoula. If you know of a group you'd like to see on this program, give us a call. At MCAT, the number is 542-6228. For MCAT, I'm Joel Baird. Thanks for watching.